Hey there, I'm Galahound19, and I'm kicking into high gear with SCPs as Mech armours.
Okay, let me start from the beginning here. Following humanity's hubris and ridiculously poor judgment, a technological death race had begun. With all sorts of crazed scientists, including myself, developing mech armors, machines with destructive and, if rumors pray tell, some with world-ending capabilities. And so you can imagine that some obscure country secretly funded a, you could say, fully equipped task force. If fully equipped was another word for morally questionable and totally not copyright infringement. The Specialized Cybernetic Patrol, tasked with capturing, containing, or else terminating any rogue mech armors that threaten civilian safety. And they will do anything to achieve this wide-range task, even if they end up threatening civilian safety themselves. What can I say? Hypocritism might as well be a fashion statement at this point. Oh, I gotta stop ranting about it, or else I'm never gonna get this finished. Now, where is that? Ah, here it is. Case file 939. Codename The Mechs with Many Voices. Now this is one of the early day case files on a group of freelance mercenaries who were particularly, menacing. They performed raids on dozens upon dozens of towns throughout Central America. And they had done it with blood-red mech armors that heavily resemble hunting pack animals, with mechanical hind legs and razor claws that can cut through a human femur with ease. Each one of them were adept in close to mid-range combat. They strike with agile movement and lethal precision. Now, from what I can gather from this weirdly specific case file, this group would come to a town at night and simultaneously attack certain public areas, putting civilians and law enforcement into a state of panic and confusion, especially with their mech's more tricky capabilities. Now I'm not talking about jetpacks or laser Gatling guns, no. I'm talking about hacking into the police radio grid with voice modulators, allowing them to mimic voices to mislead their targets. And I'm talking about cohesive gas sprayers built into their gauntlets. A colorless, scentless gas, which acts as a form of amnestic. With just the whiff of this stuff inhaled, the victim will lose the last few hours of their memories. But an overdose can cause severe headaches, nausea, and, in extreme cases, death. And they would often douse a whole town in this stuff after a raid, so no one will remember where they came from or where they left. And the Specialized Cybernetic Patrol certainly had a hard time tracking them down. But one day they got lucky. When a lone hitchhiker spotted the mercenaries heading south, and with that information alone, the thugs quickly figured out which town was next targeted. So when the mercenaries came a-knocking, the patrol answered with standard issue gas masks and EMP weaponry. After just a few hours of fighting, most of the bad guys were apprehended and their mechs were confiscated. But the investigation is far from over. To this day, not one of those bad guys had caved into interrogations. Not one of them had given away where they got their mechs, how that amnestic gas is made, and just how many members are still out there. Oh man, that's a pretty cool statement to leave it with. Oh wait a minute, is this microphone still on? Alright, what do we got now? Case file 106, codename The Old Mech. Geez, who's the creative butterfly who came up with these names? Oh, and in case you can't tell through my cool robot voice, I'm being sarcastic. Now this case file dates all the way back to the first Mech War. Back then, the USA was at a really bad start in the war. Like C-3PO versus the Terminator bag. And so one US politician came up with a drastic proclamation where dozens of high-qualified scientists and engineers were drafted into working round the clock into developing weaponry of state defense. Yeah, if I ever meet that politician, I'll give him a real earful, then a real mouthful of fist. Anyway, under all of these strict conditions, one scientist, Robert Terminus, had a mental breakdown and attempted to flee the compound, but was quickly foiled and was brought forth to the military higher-ups. It was clear that Robert was just missing his friends and family, and he was a respected enough scientist that the higher-ups gave him a choice. Either he would risk it all in a court-martial, or he would be allowed a pardon if he test pilots one of their new mech armours. Robert reluctantly went with option B, and the armor he agreed to pilot was the first of its kind, with phase-shifting capabilities, as in it could walk through walls. Pretty ironic they would let him pilot this thing after he tried to run away. But the armor had a remote override system with a 20-mile radius, so there was no hope for him in that regard. Robert was taken to the testing site and brought forth to a 2-meter thick wall. He was meant to phase into one side and phase out the other, but when he took that step forward, he never came out. Something went wrong. All that was left was this corrosive black and red sludge from where he entered, as if the wall was bleeding. None of the scientists could tell what went wrong. The higher-ups just labeled the experiment a failure and deemed Robert Terminus dead. But that is not where this case file ends. 30 years afterwards, the war was long over, and the facility was being used to develop more conventional appliances. Everyone was going about a seemingly normal day until it came. It came oozing from the wall with black slime, a skeleton-like mech armor, and while skipping the gory details, it had killed everyone in the facility. It was Robert Terminus, or what was left of him. Somehow, the experiment had placed him in a pocket dimension. Don't know how he stayed alive for so long, but now his mind was warped, his armor was grafted to his body, and he was now producing a seemingly endless supply of acid. To this day, the old Mech is the most wanted serial killer in the country, with a current kill count reaching in triple digits. Oh man. Geez, some of these lame-named case files might as well be dripping with blood. Like this one, Case File 682, codenamed the Immortal Mech. You know when you start a job that seems simple and straightforward, only to have it drone on for, forever? Well, that's what this is. It all started nearly 2 decades ago when the Specialized Cybernetics Patrol, do I have to say that every time? Anyway, they got a distress call from an undisclosed testing facility, a call that was distorted as heck. All they could make out were screams and gunfire. And so a tactical unit was dispatched almost immediately, but by the time they got there was no one left to save. The facility was in smoldering ruins. Scientists, guards, and personnel were all reduced to dismembered remains. The sight was truly disturbing, but things didn't end there. The task force followed a trail to the woodland area, where trees had been ripped out of the ground and animals had been ripped apart. After that, the trail seemingly went cold, and that was when it chose to attack. Leaping out from the clearing, a 12-foot green and turquoise mech armor, it snatched up one of the soldiers in its metal claws and ripped him in half like a paper doll. The rest of the soldiers opened fire. They were a 30-man team specially trained and armed with guns, grenades, and even rocket launchers. And yet, all they could do was slow down the metal monster. And it went on like that for hours. It wasn't until tanks, helicopters, and other heavy artillery were called in were they able to capture and dismantle the mech. They took its remains to a military compound, and after examinations, they discovered that the mech was made from a revolutionary grade of nanobots, microscopic machines that can break down and reconstruct any raw material. A huge feat in science, but its programming was dangerously unstable, becoming a literal killing machine, and it was far from over. The nanobots kept adapting, and the mech kept repairing itself to go on another rampage. After reprogramming numerously failed, they tried destroying the mech. They tried shooting it, freezing it, burning it, crushing it, even nuking it. But nothing ever worked. What can I say? You can't keep a good, evil mech down. They currently have the mech stored in an acid tank in some secret location. Now I could tell you where, but I would be running the risk of getting shot, burned, and nuked myself. And now it's case file 179, codenamed the Mental Sorcerer. Nobody knows how, where, or why, but the subject has proven to be an invaluable asset to the Specialized Cybernetic Patrol. They really need to abbreviate that. Now the case file started decades ago, when a French astrologer, whose name has been struck from the record, had discovered an unidentified object orbiting the sun. After some high-res scans, the astrologer was left baffled and immediately called, I'm just gonna call the SCP Foundation, so sue me. The orbiting anomaly was a mech armor with a sleek black and gray exterior, with a set of triangular panels floating around it. It is speculated that the mysterious machine is mostly solar-powered, and the floating panels must act as a heat shield. Closer viewings with the Hubble telescope found a set of medieval alchemic symbols along the mech armor, translating to gold, mercury, copper, iron, and tin. Space probes were of course dispatched, but none had made contact. Long-range hacking was tried next, but that was even less fruitful. The mech's programming was so powerful, it shorted out the most sophisticated of mainframes. For years, they had gotten nothing from the mech, until it had contacted them. It had sent the patrol a set of coordinates just outside of the solar system. Right there was a cluster of asteroids heading straight for Earth. So the military were alerted, war rockets were launched to intercept, and the world was saved. But things didn't end there. Months afterwards, the patrol received another set of coordinates, this time on Earth, suburban Detroit. And on following instructions, they found the old mech. You know, the phase-shifting, acid-spitting serial killer of case file 106, right? It would seem that the orbiting mech could detect oncoming phenomenons and even track down mech armors category 5 or higher. Well, ain't that...
Get in there, Grays! You're in possession of stolen case files! Come out with your hands up!
No, wait! I want to make good video! No!
No! Not my cool robot voice!
If you enjoyed these designs, then feel free to suggest whatever characters or genres I should work into mech armors. And on another note, I'm currently doing the Color Wheel Art Challenge. That's where I fill in each segment with a character best representing that color. I'm nearly done with the pink section, then I'm going straight into the red one, so suggest whatever you can think of. Oh boy, I got so much to explain, I don't know where to... Galahair 19, this is the police, we have you surrounded! Uh-oh. Okay, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, I'll catch you next time! Oh my God!